Good morning, everybody. We're going to be talking about your first years of travel, which was ours, first year in 2021, which I'm going to call things and getting things organized, had a fire, whatever, getting ready. We come in, we get ready to go to bed, and I go to look for my mask for my CPAP. And I remember taking it out, setting it on the bed, tried to remember to take it with, and I thought I put it in the drawer by the bed. And it's not there. And I thought, oh no. So we looked for this thing in the truck all over the place. And you know, when mama don't sleep, and nobody sleeps because I snore. So we didn't get much rest that night. And I called, I was going to get on Amazon and order it. And I thought, man, where do I send this sucker? So I got a hold of a tire shop in Wall. And these guys were just super people. We ran into them the year before because we were out with our camper, our other camper, four-wheeling with some friends. And on the way back, we're going down the freeway, heading east, and a trailer comes by carrying just a pickup with a trailer load of junk scrap, right? Going to the scrap yard or whatever. And he comes flying by us, and right shortly after that, a car behind him is waving us over to get off the road. And I look in my mirror and I see tire flopping. So I pull over, and here what had happened is a hunk of his metal came off and must have slid under and hit two of my tires on the one side. One was completely shredded, and the other one was, flat, going flat. So we limped it up to Wall and changed the one back tire first. We limped it up the Wall, got new tires put on, and that's how we got to know this guy. Back to the original is I call him up and I say, hey, do you know, can I by chance have a package shipped here? And I said, you remember me? I told him my name, and he said, yeah, absolutely you can. No problem. Just super nice guy. So I had Amazon ship me a CPAP mask, and then we went on our adventures. We got out, and we headed towards Texas, and we got into we stopped at a couple other places, but we got into a Corps of Engineers campground, made reservations way ahead of time for this certain site because of the length, because the sites down there are a little older, so you have a hard time getting your larger campers in. So when we pull in, there's somebody in the site, and I'll stick a picture of it somewhere up here, and it looks like they've been there for whatever length of time, right? And this is after that COVID had struck. So anyhow, I got a hold of the park manager, and he says, we can get you into this site over here. And it was just, it was long enough, but they had to clear out a bunch of tree limbs to get it out of the way so we can get in there decent. So they did, everything was cool. So we went to town, we got groceries, odds and ends, came back, and I set the Deb goes in with an arm load, and then I carry the rest of them in, open the door, get them in there, set them on the floor. And when I set them on the floor, I threw my keys up on the counter, and she had a brown paper bag up there, but it's just like a lunch bag. because she was just putting odds and ends papers in it, you know, for our fire. And so I just tossed them up on the counter and bringing the rest of the groceries in. We put everything away. Later on that night, we have a fire, and we had a great time sitting by the fire. You know, everything was good. Come back, you know, get up in the morning, went to bed, got up in the morning, and I can't find my keys. Outside looking on the ground, and I thought, you know, maybe I had my flannel shirt, maybe I stuck them in my shirt pocket up here. And when I put wood in, maybe they fell out, you know, by the edge of the fire ring. So I'm looking around the fire and where the wood pile is, and then I took my hand and a stick and I'm pushing it around in there, and I can't see anything. But I go to the camper and get a magnet. I got a big magnet. I put it in there, and lo and behold, I come up with a key ring. I thought, uh-oh. So I went in and got a strainer, and I sifted some of the ash in that same area, and sure enough, I found the key slugs, you know, just the ends. So, yeah, I burnt them. So that's a $500 bill. By the time you get done with going to Ford, getting the fob, all that BS. So from here, we're going to go to Canyon Lake, Texas, at a Corps of Engineer campground, and we end up pulling in there. We looked at it on a map. We found a nice spot by the lake, and we got her all backed in, situated, and we ran uptown to get groceries and other odds and ends. Fill the propane tank, maybe. Can't quite remember, but we came back, and we had a whole gathering of people around our camper. It was really kind of different. We were kind of nervous. We come down the hill, and there's a red pickup sitting right in our front yard, and the front wheel of it is in our fire pit. And what it was actually a camp host. Her spot was right across the street from us, up on an elevated pad. And her little doggies had to go potty, and she was so worried about them. She got him out of the truck and forgot to put her truck in park or set the emergency brake, and it took off on her and rolled down that hill, and the only thing that stopped that truck was the fire ring. When the tire jumped up over the fire ring and back into it, it actually stopped the truck. Totally amazing, because it was quite an incline, but we tried getting the truck out of there. You know, it's four-wheel drive. It wouldn't come out. The tow wrecker guy got there. He tried just driving, and it wouldn't come out. I mean, it was wedged up on the frame. Lucky they were high fire rings that it wedged the frame entire. And the lady made a joke about it. She says, you know, I don't mind at all paying for this tow wrecker bill. I just didn't want to pay for a camper bill. Basically buy our camper, because the only thing that stopped it was that fire ring. And now we got that all ironed out and had a good time the rest of the time there. And we're heading off to Lake Whitney. This is where it gets a little bit nerve-wracking. It's a little scary. We get there, find our site. We meet our daughter there. She comes, and she's in one site. Let's just call it site. We're in site 10. She's in 11. There's a gentleman in, 13, 14, and so on, right? And I'll be putting some clips up here. Starts out like this. Beautiful. Turns to... and us guys, Deb, Amanda, whatever, had a nice little fire. And later that night, this is the 22nd of December, excuse me. And so we are sitting there, and we go, and the kids in her site next to them, next to my daughters, their kids and her kids are playing together, and the site next to that are playing together. So there's 6 kids playing, they're having a good time. That night, we had our fire. Me and Deb, we kind of retired early. I go to bed early at night. I mean, I go to bed at 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And Deb was sitting up reading. And about 11 o'clock, she wakes me up. And she says, Danny, she says, I heard gunshots, 5 of them. And she wakes me up and tells me that. And I says, well, grab my gun. Is the door locked? I says, I grabbed my gun. I made sure that was handy. And I thought, I didn't know what to think at the time, right? Because you just woke up out of a sleep. And so my daughter comes banging on our door and she says, did you hear the gunshots? She had only heard 3. And it was the people right next to her. The guy that was next to them, okay, now it's the people next to him, ended up getting into an argument next to the people next to them because the other guy, the farthest guy down, had been beating on his wife, drinking. I'm going to be putting the article up here. And he was a vet and was having, we didn't realize it at the time, was having PTSD problems. Okay. But these 2 neighbors, the guy went over to help his wife, and the guy that got shot took off. And he was over there helping her, giving her aid. And all of a sudden he comes back, and the guy went back to his site with his family and left her there, and he come back and blew up, man. He was mad. And he was drunk, obnoxious. Earlier that day, he was waving around a weapon. He started hollering at my daughter's neighbor, which is the one there right next to him, and went in the back of his truck and grabbed an object, which it was dark, okay, mind you, it was real dark, 11 o'clock at night, and he had been waving around his long rifle earlier, so he grabbed his stick and went, running towards this guy's site, and he said, stop, I've got a gun, I'll shoot you. Well, he never slowed down. The guy got in his sight, just into his sight, and he dropped him right there. It was over, right? And within, 5-10 minutes, there was red lights, cops, sirens. That whole campground was swarming. And this guy in Texas, they've got the castle law. And the police officer, the chief of police, was telling us that if you rent a spot camping, that is also considered your castle. You have a right to protect your family and protect your property. So that guy was not drinking. They took him in, gave him a test. He was not drinking and was released. It was tragic. I mean, right before Christmas, you got 4 kids there that are involved. Their Christmas was not, I don't imagine, very good, especially the family of the father that got shot. The cops came over to me later and told us that there'll be somebody coming to pick up the deceased person's camper in a day or so. So that next day or the following day, I can't remember which, the 2 people came to pick up his 5th wheel camper. Well, they were over there struggling. I could see that they didn't know, they've never hooked up nothing to a 5th wheel camper. I went over there, talked to them, introduced myself, and I just said, it's just a tragic thing right before Christmas, something like this had to happen, I says, I'm sorry, whatever, because I knew it had to be family, whatever. And here it was, the guy's father, and he said, my son shouldn't have been over there. He said, we are not mad at the person that shot him. we're not holding any grudges. He says, I just wish somebody would have called authorities before it came to this. He said the VA or whoever gives him his medications were not getting his medications to him for his PTSD, and the alcohol did not help commit to that. So this trip continues. Just don't get discouraged, people out there, when you're camping and things go wrong or things go sideways. You have to keep going, and this isn't over yet. So now we are going to Quartzsite from Whitney, Lake Whitney in Texas. So now we're going to Quartzsite, Arizona, and we were there for a while, and we had a dentist appointment earlier in the morning over in Algodones, Mexico. So we decided to go down to Yuma the night before and get a room at a motel. I'm not saying the motel. And we get there and we check in, and it was one person at a time because it was still this COVID BS going on. So we parked our truck kind of right in front of the office. There's a fence, and then there's a swimming pool and whatnot, but it's kind of close to the office. So we get our room, and our room is upstairs, not on top of the office, but close to the front. And Deb decided that, hey, now's a good time to do laundry, because the lady said that, because we asked for where the laundromat is, and she said there's one right here in the motel. So we brought I brought her laundry and her, and went up to down to the laundry room, which was downstairs at the very end. Went to the laundry, and I went back to the room, and I thought, I'm going to kick back and relax a little bit, you know. She's going to do some laundry, read a book down there, whatever. So I'm sitting there, and I was watching John Wayne movie, as it was John Wayne Weekend, which was, yes, I like that. He's my buddy. And someday I'll introduce you. You know, I can't. He's gone. But anyhow, I was sitting there, and she had walked back to the office because she needed something up in the room. I think it was a basket. And she had to run back to the office because she forgot what room number, because she was on the phone with her sister at the time, and she didn't really catch it. She had her mind elsewhere, whatever. So she goes to the room, and there's, like I said, one person at a time, and there was somebody in there, and she was standing in line, and then this gentleman came up, and they were just conversing, and said there was only one person at a time. So that person got out of the office, and Deb walked in, took care of her business with what room she's in, and she came up to the room then, right? And she grabbed what she grabbed, the basket, and went back out of the room, and was walking down the steps, and got probably 3/4 of the way back to the laundry. And all of a sudden, this guy out on the balcony across from us starts screaming and hollering, and I'm hearing other screams, right? And I thought, what the heck? Is there kids making racket or what? So I get up out of my chair, and I go out there on the balcony, and he's hollering, screaming, and Deb took off running down towards the laundry, because it's got a lock on it. So she got in there, because this was crazy. And this guy up on the balcony is hollering at these workers that work the fields down there, the vegetable fields. They had come in to check in, apparently, and he was hollering at them, telling them to get in the office because that guy that was standing next to Deb, just talking, was trying to rob the place. Okay, and this is a thing that's been going on down there, I guess. But he hollered at them to get in there and help her, and these big dudes went in there, and they got the guy off her. He was literally choked her to death, just about. They had a hard time to get her to come back. He had squashed her larynx and stuff so bad. They were massaging her, trying to get her back, but they can beat this guy and beat this guy. And they were still beating him when the cops showed up. And the cops and whatever took over the situation in there with her, and they just, two of them just grabbed this guy by the shirt collar and drug him out and cuffed him to the bumper of the squad and left him lay there, you know, like a piece of trash that he was. There's ambulances, there's fire trucks, more chaos coming, you know what I mean? And this one squad comes flying around the backside by Denny's where we had went to eat, and comes skidding in there, and there was a van parked there next to us. You know, he slams his, loses control of his squad car, slams into the van goes into the fence, and the squad car veers off, luckily the other way and not towards my truck. And they didn't, they took care of this gal, and finally they went out to this guy, and he's still out cold, but he's alive. They pounded this dude. And the cops walked up to those workers and shook their hands and said, "Great job, good citizens." You know, basically gave him the Good Citizen Award. So the moral of this story is, Deb was right there next to this guy, didn't have her purse. If she would have had her purse, who knows what would have happened. She could have been a victim too. So the moral, she says, of this story is be aware of your surroundings and try to be as safe as you can. Pay attention to what's going on around you. And from there on, we went to Mexico, we went to the dentist, everything was good, we got back to quartzsite. So that was our first run down to Arizona to get here. It's quite the experience. Just don't get discouraged, people. Stay with it.